Hello, and welcome back to the Get Loved Up podcast. We are so happy that you tune in every single week to Get Loved Up. We are inspiring in the areas of spirituality, wellness, and entrepreneurship. And each week we bring you a special guest, someone in the community who is getting loved up and who is shining their light in these areas. Today, I am so excited to introduce you to Abena Boamah. She is the founder and the CEO of Hanahana Beauty, an ethically conscious, Black-owned, clean beauty and wellness brand aiming to disrupt the global beauty industry by promoting increased transparency of ingredient sourcing, accessibility of products, and responsible environmental practices. Hanahana Beauty empowers Black women globally by creating sustainable access to income and healthcare for shea butter products in Ghana. Abena, how are you?
I'm good. How are you? This is when you were reading that, I was like, oh my goodness, wow, we really be doing this.
You're doing this. Like, oh, y'all, let me tell you how I first met this queen. We were in, where were we? Was it Chicago?
It was in Chicago. Yeah, was that the first time we met? Was in Chicago for the Soho event?
Yes, we were at the Soho House in Chicago, and this queen walks in, and I'm like, who is this woman? Her smile lights up an entire room, her energy, her vibe, like everything about you just said, I just want to give her a big hug and hold on for way too long, right? So that was my first moment, just kind of getting to know you. And since then, you have really made an impact. I remember trying your shea butter products for the first time and just being wow, this smells so good, this feels so good. But I really want to get into you, what really inspired you in the beginning to become an entrepreneur?
So it was more so I feel like accidental. So I started making shea when I was a teacher. So I was teaching algebra and actually started my master's in counseling psychology. So I was just more so just interested, I think, in just making products for myself. It was like a challenge from my students because I would always kind of challenge them to like, you need to like change what you're putting in your mouth, like like you stop eating hot Cheetos, just like really going in on my students. Like I had a really transparent relationship with my students about like, trying to take care of ourselves. Like all of us are on a journey. And so I was on my own journey too, in the same sense of just being more intentional about what I was putting on my body. I think there's this moment in the time, it's like 2015, 14, around that time when I just feel like there was a lot of unlearning happening. There was a lot of things coming to notice of what was going on in the world. And for me, there became this connection of like, understanding a level of white supremacy to a point of knowing that it also had to do with skincare and that I wanted to have control over how I made and what was going on my body. So, and it was like self-care. I was like going into, Lauren, who actually is who introduced the both of us. I started doing Black Girl in Om. I just started tapping in more into like the things that made me feel good. And one of the things that made me feel good was creating products. So it was never like, oh, I want to have a business. It was honestly more so just like, okay, I love this process of making. I love how I feel after. And then it was like, wait, what is this process behind even my making, how till the product is produced and the ingredients and the fact that, shea butter, I'm Ghanaian. I just started doing more research and I was just very curious. And just understanding the process and like why, shea butter was one, like making so much money, but yet the people that were behind it weren't really making as much money and why it was being used in like all these products. Like I didn't even know, like being Ghanaian, like, what shea butter it is, but you don't know that it's like used. I didn't realize it was like used in like 75% of makeup products. Like those are things that I didn't realize. And then I just started like understanding more of this like clean beauty movement. I was like, what? This is just like traditional beauty. Like, this is crazy. But that was kind of the inspiration.
Wow. I love that. I love that. You are literally Get Loved Up template. Like what we say at Get Loved Up is, if you're trying to find your purpose, do what brings you joy. And that's basically, you're like, I love products. And that's just so beautiful, because when you follow your soul's calling, you know your work is going to bring you joy every day. It might be hard, but you know, like your why is solid. So thank you so much for sharing that. And I know it hasn't been easy. So what has been kind of like your go-to when it comes to, do you have like rituals or spiritual practices that you do daily to kind of keep you grounded?
Okay, well, I think just like, I go to therapy. I think I talk to my team all the time about therapy. Like all of us would be like, do you go to therapy? You go to therapy? Do you need to get a therapist? I mean, for real, for me, I think honestly, since starting Hanahana, I think something that has been consistent and that has been helpful when it has been consistent is therapy, for sure. Like, and that's like on a weekly or bi-weekly basis for me. Outside of that is like having morning routines, like intentionally creating time for myself during the day. I've really had to learn how to have a weekend. Like the beginning, it's just crazy to think, like last year during this time, I was working like literally 7 days a week. I didn't even think, like I would work on Sundays, I would work on Saturdays. There's no reason not to work at all. Like for me, like here we could do a meeting there. Like I was tapped out. I was, very much, I feel like I was probably taking meetings on Sundays, weekends, probably till like September this year, to be honest. And that's something that I've just always have done for the past 3 years of like starting Hanahana, because it was first I was working full time to finishing grad school to just doing this. And it just felt like, it was necessary to put all that energy in, but I've had to learn to like be able to prioritize my business. I have to prioritize myself. And that means like routinely daily things that allow me to like feel grounded and feel settled. Like I am such a person about just like taking time to like be silent by yourself and like walks. I love taking walks. Oh my goodness. Like it's kind of like my go-to thing is just like go take a walk, go ride a bike, like any ways of like releasing energy. I feel like, because as much as I'm releasing energy in work and through people, sometimes because I'm always at work and always into things, I'm like, okay, I need to release. I need to just like, relax. So I try to do that. And I try to surround myself with people that like, care about me and my well-being. I think that is just so important. And I've realized how important it is to like have your friends, companionship, all those things around you to like help make you like, grounded and just talk to people outside of your team and your business as much as you do talk to them too.
That is so beautiful. I love that you go for a walk on a regular basis.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Getting out in nature is clutch. It's almost like nature is like one of our greatest teachers. And the more you spend time, somehow things naturally start to make more sense.
It does. And I feel like it just gives, I'm a Pisces. And also I'm a Scorpio and a Virgo, all the things together. But I say that because I feel like I spend so much time processing and thinking, or just having a lot of thoughts in my head. And I'm pretty empathetic person. Like I just feel a lot. I can feel people's energy a lot. And so sometimes it's a lot for me, and I have to take those times. Like even if it's when it's cold, like I just need to get like a rush of air or like a hit to bring me back down, which is, I don't know, like it's one of those things that I've realized, and I even just talked about, like sometimes I feel like I need like this level of like another wince or another energy push outside of like work, because I don't know, as much as I love to feel the calm and like the level of calmness, I also like to feel other things outside of all that I'm thinking about, like with work and this and that, you know? So it's always nice to just be outside and people watch and like just be hit with nature, just be in the city and just like see other things outside of what you're used to.
Absolutely. And studies are starting to prove like the scientific benefit of spending time in nature, and like the detriment of like being under high stress all the time, even though you're doing what you love, you got deadlines and you got meetings, and that produces stress and cortisol in the body. And then when you balance it with going outside, it gives you a sense of calm. So that's triggering your parasympathetic nervous system. You start to relax, you start to feel better. So I love that you do that, and that you're calling that out, that that's what your body needs. And you know that, not necessarily knowing the science behind it, but really tuning into how you feel. Yeah. And I feel like that's what especially young entrepreneurs need, is to learn how to listen to how you feel and give yourself a break.
Yeah. And it's like, it's something, it's so interesting, like just listening to how you feel, like, because like I said before, it was like, I was working, like now, I mean, I work a lot. I still work a lot, but the concept of weekends, I dismissed it for a while, especially during quarantine. And being like, I'm an entrepreneur and like, this business has to be sustained. And I wasn't thinking about exactly like myself and like being sustainable. Like for me, like how do I sustain myself as I'm sustaining this business? And that was not sustainable. And so like, it's just being very intentional and like thinking about like, how does your body feel in certain, like after you do something. Like we talk about working out all the time and like how does just like movement and all those types of things. And it's like my body feels just so much better. I go into work like fresh after yoga, after a walk, after like a quick HIIT class, whatever it is that I need to do, like this release of energy, and then like your serotonin is built up and all those like good things, you know? And so it's like, we know this stuff and sometimes we just don't take the time to do it. And for me, I have to like remind myself, but also remind myself that I'm worthy of like this time and these moments and taking care of intentionality around myself, as much as like my brand is worthy of time and taking time and energy too, you know? So yeah.
And you have a very tight team that's very close here. I know you're growing at the moment, but can you talk a little bit about what it meant to really know like when you needed help, knowing that you couldn't do it outside of yourself, and what that looked like for you?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. You know, so I've always, when I first started Hanahana, for the first year, I think I did basically fully everything kind of by myself, but not even the first year. I've always had people that have just like supported Hanahana in a way of like team, or just like being able to support in any way that they can, from like working with Dion to like photography to even just like, you know, with Lauren, like just like in ways of like helping connect or whatever in that type of way. So when it came time for a team, I wanted to be very intentional about like, I know I receive a lot of help from people, but it's not just about help. It's about some people that are to be inspired by the brand itself, but also want to be impactful within the brand or grow within the brand and allow the brand to help them grow for whatever their inspiration and their aspirations are too. And I feel like I've had really great interns, but you know, there's always just like, you have to learn when it's an intern from like someone saying like you're on the team, it's like, it's very different, right? Mm-hmm. Or, you know, so when we started growing, especially during quarantine I feel like at a different exponential level. I remember like my parents came to visit for the first time. Like I hadn't seen them like I don't even know. I think it was like May last year when I finally got to see my parents, and they came and helped me. And it was like when things were booming. We had just like the Beyonce announcement and so I had just been so stuck with doing all this by myself and like getting used to it and like planning around the fact of I just kind of have to do this by myself and maybe I'll get an assistant. That like until my parents came and my brother came and I had different people doing different things, I was like, wait, I need a team. I need a team right now. Like, you know, we are very operations focused. And my best friend, Courtney, which today was her last day, she would come every Monday and just like help me and was like, yo, like I can be helpful in operations. I teach like, you know, and so she became our operations lead. And basically like Courtney and I built out our team like together of like interviewing people and like building out our fulfillment operations team, building out our shipping team. And, you know, from there, like I work with 2 amazing consultants too, that for me, growing this business, it meant important of like access and like knowledge, especially in the beauty industry to be successful. Like I came again from a teaching and educational, like academic background, but not experience in teaching. I'm very like strategy wise outside, not experience in the beauty space. So I had experience like in ideas and like, you know, vision, but being able to have people that have experience within the beauty space that can teach me as we're growing our brand. So we currently work with Create for Her, and it's been amazing because their focus is e-commerce and product development. And I've been able to like, you know, grow in that space of understanding and like just really getting the beauty industry and having access to it in a whole different way of knowledge. But I think it's like with team is intentionality. And I always tell people like, it takes time to build team. We're still building team. And, you know, we, before like we were working with Amaka, who was our social strategist, she was amazing. And now we're at a place where we're going into a new, I think that it takes time as a founder, learning how to let people know when it's time to go, being okay with transitions, like, you know, and I'm learning that. I always say that, like, I never break up with people. I never get to fire people because like, I feel like it always comes like in a aligned mode. Like, even when it's like, okay, like the first time I ever was going to fire someone, that day they literally put in their like weeks and was like, I'll finish. And I was like, wow, whew. To get off my like I was like, they didn't even know. But you know what? I was like, wow, God just be having me in a way. I don't know when it's gonna come, when I'm gonna have to do that. But you know, it just like literally every single time it like comes in alignment. But you know, as a founder, I'm trying to learn when it's like, you have to say no. Sometimes you don't have to let it get to a point, right? Like you need to cut it at times and be direct in that way. And so, you know, building a team has really taught me like a lot of skills with direct communication and just like saying what is necessary, the expectations, letting people know when maybe they're not meeting the expectations, being able to give feedback, receive feedback, you know. So it's a process, but I mean, I really love my team. I feel like we all are very intentional in every areas of like our own personal growth, which I think is just so important to be able to be intentional in this space. Because if there's anything known as like during quarantine pandemic, is like everyone is going through things, you know? And so like, for me, anytime someone shows up and is here, I'm like, wow, you did whatever for yourself to be able to show up in this place. So I'm going to make sure that we can create a safe place here where you can grow and do the work that you want to do and receive what you want to receive within this place. And when you're coming into a space where you feel like you can't receive that, then I think that's time to start rethinking, you know, the relationship with your work or whatever. And I learned that when I was a teacher. And so for me, like, I really try to be so intentional about like creating space for my team to feel like they're inspired. and feel like they're heard, because I know how it feels to go into a job that you really care about and the people, blah, 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 but the outcome, or like you don't feel supported in the space. So I always try to like, how can we do that to make sure we can support everyone that's, putting in their work.
I love that. That is so important for people to feel loved, to feel supported, to feel like they're part of the team. And I love that you mentioned two women that I love, and we're all about community and supporting. So I want to make sure people know them. Lauren Ash of Black Girl in Om, who introduced us. So if y'all have not heard the podcast or checked her out, definitely Black Girl in Om is an amazing podcast that you all have to listen to. And I'm so happy she introduced us, because I've been loving you ever since. And then also Dion Ivory, who I don't know if you knew this, but she did the illustrations for my book, Let Your Fears Make You Fear. Yes, she did those illustrations, and she has a beautiful community as well, the Body a Home for Love, which is a community nurturing sexual assault survivors. And so both of those women, huge angels in your life and my life too. And I think the reason I wanted to call it out and just show them some love is because, I think it's so important at this time for us to support each other and lift each other up, because we can't do it alone and we don't have to. And I think the more that we nurture each other, the more that we collectively rise.
Yes, no, it's so true. And it's like, there's just so many people like them, include like Dion, Lauren, like there's just so many names of women that have like, lend their time or support or just like ears to like ideas and just like conversations. Like, I just remember when I first started, my friend Kenya, like we would just sit on the phone for hours, like thinking of things. And just like, she was just, let me just like shit. Like, I remember when like I thought of like Smooth and Confident and like us yelling on the phone, like, that's it. Like there's these moments. And so it's like so exciting to see like, 4 years later where we're at. Like, I just always am like, wow, like we recently won this award for our exfoliating bar. And I was like, that bar was made in my kitchen. That's just so crazy. And now it's like we get to work with like a chemist that is like, we're working together to develop new product and just different things like that. It's just, I'm so happy for the growth, but this growth wouldn't have happened without the support and love of my friends and family, like at all, and my team. So yeah.
Absolutely. And tell us a little bit about that journey, because I think I met you about 3 years ago, but it's been 4 years you've been having Hanahana Beauty. So can you tell me some of the milestones which has really helped you grow as an entrepreneur? Because we have a lot of wellness entrepreneurs that listen to this podcast every single week. And a lot of people are like, how do I do it? How is this even possible?
Yeah.
It's your time to step into your full power and potential. Are you tired of playing small and ready to make a big difference in the world? If your answer is yes, then the Wellness Entrepreneur Mastermind is for you. This mastermind will give you all the tools you need to turn your passion into purpose and live from a space of abundance as you let go of your limiting beliefs and negative self-talk. We coach you to thrive 1 week at a time, one goal at a time. We teach you what's working right now and what's not, so you can position yourself as a community leader and create real change in the world. If you're ready to level up and stand in your power, then go to koyawebb.com/mastermind to join our next group of wellness entrepreneurs. Space is limited and your time is now, so don't delay. Make a difference today.
I think, the first 3 years of Hanahana was really, for me, like building foundation within our mission. So how our backbone of like our Hanahana circle of care, being able to be really intentional. Because for the first 3 years, I was living back and forth between Ghana and the States and really working with our producers. Sorry, there's like a dog outside.
Okay, we like animals.
Working, in Ghana, understanding landscape, understanding how we could be in relationship and with the producers that we sourced from, and what it really meant, like what how did I really want to run this company? Like, what did it mean to be sustainable? What did it mean for transparency, access? Like, we the first 3 years was really about organic growth. And I, to be honest, wasn't too focused on like the industry of it. I think what was great was I was really focused on foundation and community. And I looked at our community not only as the people that were purchasing, but our producers. So it allowed us to build this foundation in which, when it came to 2020 and all the things that happened, the foundation we had built was about sustainability. It was ethical. It was, being able, when I say foundation, like how we even produce product and how we connect and work with people. And, in the beginning, we were doing these events. I was doing these events and I was working with editors. Like, I think of Maya Allen, who is now at InStyle, the head beauty director, or even Miss Julie, who was at Essence. And like, just, there were so many different women that we were connecting with and building community with, that it didn't have to do this like PR route and things like that. It was like, things were very organic. And so I feel like when it came into going into year 4, being in the pandemic, I wanted to be able to have focus on actual scale and growth, because it was like, okay, I've built this foundation. I understand that we want to be able to do this and this. I understand that this is how we want to work with producers. We want to build this healthcare system. Like, continue. We built this without money. Now it's like, okay, now that we've been able to do this really much bootstrap and like, I wouldn't even say scrappy, like behind the scenes scrappy, but in front of everyone, I don't even think people like realize how small it was, like it was literally just like me and an intern, or me and 2 interns, or me and my cousin, like different things like that. And so it came time for scaling. Like, what does it look like to intentionally scale? Mm-hmm. How does it look like to put, to strategize around all your launches, strategize not only just for social, but physical, for website, for, PR, like, hitting all the nuts. And now we're at this place where, that team is evolving for that reason. And I think it just took time. It took time, but I think some of the milestones, definitely was moments in Ghana, of like the first 7 months that I stayed in Ghana, being really to understand the process of shea. And I think that, and how everything is gathered, and being there and seeing, and, was really what molded how we're moving now. And I definitely think some of the milestones definitely was team, like being able to have team that can actually execute the ideas and like continue to like, bring these ideas to fruition. And, definitely just like we're in the space of fundraising right now, where that's a whole nother scaling development, right? And being able to take time for that and meeting. And I think throughout all of this though, is that I've been really intentional about, though I'm bootstrapping, how do I have access to finance and access to understanding? And that was like through grants. So like I did the Glossier grant, which was $50K. And that's, that makes a big difference. But we've been, because I came more so in this social impact space, I've always felt like there is money out there. You need to take it up, and that's just how I'm like, ever since college, I think I'm like, yo, these people have all this money, take it. What's the point? Like, if we're in this society where the way to be sustainable has to do with money or this paper, right? And it's there, and I'm going to use it for something that is continuously sustainable outside of the paper itself, then I should have access to it. And I think everyone should. And so I really moved with Hanahana applying for all the grants. Like I ended up taking money from my dad right during quarantine as a loan. And it was like, okay, sure. I don't know. I guess I'll do it. And I was like, yes, like, of course you can do a loan back and pay back. But for that, everything was just myself and getting these grants. And I think it's like, it comes a point where you realize, okay, to build a sustainable business, you have to strategize, you have to have finance, you have to like be able to have the support of people outside of just your own circle, but within the different spaces. So I feel like I was really long-winded, but
that's okay. No, that's totally fine. And I think it's so real. And I feel you. You're definitely my sister, and do what you love and fund it yourself as long as you can. And I think that is a way to do things. And applying for grants, I think people need to hear that. Like, you deserve the best life has to offer, is something that I always say. And if you're not afraid to accept money from others, knowing that we are all one. And so in that circle of abundance, in that energy of abundance, you're giving and receiving. You giving your time, your talents, your expertise. And this money is for people just like you to make an impact in the world. So I love that you're championing, and telling people like, hey, go out there and get grants. This is how I did it. Because I think that that's really powerful. And also how I started was just taking my own money and investing it into my company. I still haven't taken any investment capital. I might, in the future, it might be a smart thing to do, but I have taken grants, and I think that's important. Since I think my first grant was in going to college. I mean, I did a speech contest and got a grant for that. So I think it's really important for people to hear, like, there's so much money out there when it comes to grants and funding. I think that people need to know, like, hey, just type in Google and see what's out there. Reach out to people in your community, see what's out there.
Yeah, I mean, and it's like, I think there's just been so many moments during Hanahana where I was like, oh my God, girl, you are so broke. This is like what, I just think about, I remember it was like in 2019, we did this whole London pop-up. It turned out amazing. Like, we did a collaboration with the Hoxton, we did it with Galdem. Like, it was so beautiful. But that trip going there, I remember I had like $30 in my bank account. $30 in my bank account. I was like, I remember my friends like put like they sent a group message like, girl, someone needs to help old girl get this luggage over because she needs to take the bottles of shea to London. And the checks have not came through yet, And it's like, those are the moments where but when I got to London, some Yahoo article came out and it was like that day, like in a day, we got $5,000 in sales for the first time. And it was like, oh my God, I didn't even know we could get $5,000 in sales like that. Like, what? And it was like, you were just a second here and you're here, right? And you realize as an entrepreneur how money and stability can cause like your mental stability too, right? Like, everything's so connected. And so I think that's why there's this moment, and even when you're talking about milestones, there's this moment when I think the realization of one, abundance is unlimited. Like, there's no limit to the level of abundance you can receive. But then also, like, you are deserving to create something and not struggle. I think sometimes as artists and creatives, like, we feel like we need to struggle to reach. And it's like, I've quote unquote have struggled or have different moments. There's no need for me to struggle. Like, I should be able to strategize and do and grow it and scale a business where I don't have to struggle to do it. And I think that's a mindset that's not usually told or given, especially to entrepreneurship, because it's like, it's be hard. And it's like, especially as for Black women, we have it hard already. We have struggles just because of who we are as Black women building a business. So I hope that we don't have it in our mindset that we need to like go through the hard, like we can create and continue to strategize around and move in a direction where like our business is abundant and growing and scaling and sustainable for yourself and the people that are working under it. It's not just sustainable in the sense of like the materials you use or even how it looks on social, but when I talk about sustainability, it's like people that are working should be able to live off and enjoy also their life too. And for me, that's like how I look at how I grow and scale my business, and continuously like everyone involved, how are we holistically sustained through this if we're putting our time and energy into it.
I love that. It just comes full circle, the circle of life, 100%. I love, love, love that. Was there ever a time where you're like, you know what? I don't think I want to do this anymore. Have you ever gotten to that point?
Oh my, you know what? Okay, maybe not exactly like, yeah, no, honestly, all the time. Like, I don't know if it's exactly like, I don't think there's ever a point where I'm like, I would quit Hanahana. Like, I've never got to a point where I'm like, let me end this. But there's gotten to this point where I'm like, especially in this year and everything, as we're scaling and growing and as I see the possibilities, I'm like, how long, not how long, but how do I want to continue to grow with Hanahana? Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah. I really think about more so future when I'm having the stressors of now, because I think I'm okay. I'm like really settled in understanding that maybe these next couple of years, maybe the first 5 years, maybe even the first 7 years of Hanahana, the amount of involvement and time and energy that it has to take away from me. But I'm more so like, as someone that's also very much present, but also thinks in the future too. I know what I want and my desires of growth and like family and love and all that. And I'm just like, okay, how do I grow with this brand as much as I want it to grow and exceed? Like, how do I look with this brand? How does it look for me to be a CEO? How does it look for me to be a founder? What does it mean if I'm a creative director? Like, all these different things. I think that's more so, there are these moments where I'm like, whew, you know, I think there's definitely been moments, not exactly of like, do I want to do this, but that have been so hard in the sense of like having to balance. You know, we have this HQ, but the HQ is also part of my home too. So like, there's like, what does it look like to balance and grow with a space that you work, you live, you have people coming in and out, like, and I'm just like, oh girl, can you really be doing this? Like, can we shut this off for a week? Like, can we?
Yes. You know? Yeah, and that's so real.
Yeah, so that happens a lot. But I truly believe that like my purpose is about like spreading like education through experiences. And one of those experiences is through body and skincare and like wellness in that way. And I feel like that it continues to show and how I can do that from teaching, from being a therapist and with Hanahana. And I think Hanahana is the way that can continue to grow and exceed. And I continue to see it as something that I will grow with. And I don't really see quitting it. Which is exciting, but also kind of scary that I'm like, I think it's the only thing I'm so committed to. I think anything else I'll be like, I don't know, we'll see how it goes. But
right.
I think honestly, the only thing I can be like, nah, I'm with this ride or die till the end right now. Which is, I'm happy that I have that level of commitment, but I'm also hoping that I can have that level of commitment to other people or things or stuff too. So it's like, how do I balance to allow myself to have that level of commitment also, that other thing.
That level of commitment with yourself, it sounds like as well.
Myself. Yes. Yeah.
And I feel like that's really important. And like you said, like having that moment where you say, am I just the founder? Am I the visionary? Am I the creative? How long-term, looking 10 years in the future, how do I see myself being part of the company? I think that's very important for all entrepreneurs to think about, like how involved you want to be, because it does get to a point as you grow and scale and expand to where if you're trying to hold all these, wear all of these hats, you're going to burn yourself out. And I think really having a business strategist and really looking at, okay, how do I grow and expand in a way that's sustainable? Sustainability, we're products, but the other part is sustainability when it comes to health and yourself and your self-care. So that's really beautiful that you're at that crossroads of asking yourself those questions of like, all right, what is sustainable for me?
Yeah. It's a process. And I guess, there's moments where you're just like, wow, I didn't think I would get to this point. And then you do, and you're like, yeah.
That's entrepreneur. I'm telling you, like a lot of people feel like, oh, and how did you do it? And it's just like entrepreneurship is this, just that. It's like you are taking it one day at a time, one breath at a time, and rolling with the punches. And the more you have help and support, you can plan out, but still, you never know when a pandemic is going to come. I mean, who plans for that?
No one plans for it. No.
Right. So kind of now we want to just have a little fun. We want to kind of know like a little more about you. So what is your favorite? I always like to ask, what has been your favorite book of the last year? Do you like to read books or listen to audiobooks?
Okay. So, I do not know what is going on, but I have been having trouble finishing books like this past couple of years. Like honestly, the past 2 years, I have had trouble finishing books, and I've been listening to more audiobooks. I have literally probably like 4 different audiobooks that I'm listening to right now. I'm listening to like Shoe Dog. I recently I reread/listened to the oh my goodness, what is the book? The Alchemist, because I read it right before I started Hanahana, and then someone sent it to me, and I was like, oh my God, I should just reread it and see how I look at it differently. I love the 4 Agreements. I always just read that. I make my team read it. I was reading, I haven't finished yet, but I was reading Alex L's book that she just put out. Oh my goodness, I'm forgetting the title right now. But I was listening to it on tape because she's the person that actually reads it off. And so it's so beautiful to hear her talk about like her early beginnings, and just like, I just love hearing her talk about her first job and all these different things. And so it's just been great to like listen in that way. But I feel like I've been having trouble finishing books. Like I'm still finishing Ghana Must Go, reading it, and it's still really good. I just haven't had the time to really finish. But I definitely am a podcast person, I feel like, outside of books, because I love to take in information and I love learning and like through just listening or like reading. So I'm definitely like a podcast person where I'll do all the NPRs. I'll do all like, there's certain podcasts I'll just listen to on a weekly basis. But yeah, I want to get into reading more. I've been buying more books. I just recently bought, what is the Love? Oh my goodness. I feel like it has a red cover. Oh, I want to actually. What is Love or Love? Sorry?
Was it Love Warrior?
All about love.
Okay.
Yeah. And everyone's been like, I just had different suggestions to read it and I just never read. So I was like, why not? I should, get it. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not into like, I wish I was more of a reader, but I'm not at this moment in my life.
Oh, good. I mean, books, podcasts, I feel like that's all like long form content, and it really makes you think. What is your favorite color?
Okay, my favorite color is blue. But I have also multiple favorite colors. But my favorite color is to look at is blue. And then the blues that are my favorite is the connection between, like when you're looking at the water, if it's open water versus lake, whichever, but open water, the connection of the water and the sky, that hit, like, it's just, I don't know what it is, but it's something that is like so calming for me. Like I walk to the lake all the time in Chicago, and just like see that hit, I love it. But I love blue. I love just like also monochromatic and being able to like follow different color patterns. I love the pattern, like the colors of the sky, like anything that you can see within the sky, like those colors hit me. So I feel like that hits a lot. I'm so indecisive. Also.
I love that. No, I love that. And I love gazing at the horizon, where the ocean meets the sky. Like that is just, I don't think I've ever heard anyone say that, but my favorite time of day is sunrise and sunset. And so when I look at the sunset, it's on the water where the ocean meets the sky. And I'm like, this is everything. Oh, that's so beautiful. And if you could wake up and it is Abena's world, what would that world look like if you could create it?
Okay, it would automatically be sunny. Like the sun would be shining when I wake up. And it would still be early. Like I would be well rested, but it's 6:30. Like that would be the sun, and the sun would be shining. I feel like if it was Abena's world, the temperature would not go under 57. I didn't say like it would not go under 57. The coldest is 57. You know what I mean? Like that's the temperature, but also it wouldn't go above 90. Like either. Okay.
Yes,
you know,
that was important.
Yeah, you know, it's my world, so I'm just trying to hit the temperatures. Also in this world, access to a real beach, like where the water, where you can see that there's no end. Like I just love to know when there's like nothing at, like it's miles and miles and like the next landmark is another country. Like I love looking at open water like that. Yeah, in my world, other than like, you know, landmarks and environment, honestly, in my world, just Black people would just be able to like live life and not have this sense of like fatal anxiety that is so real just because of our Blackness. Like I that would be my world. That would honestly be the key thing in my world, like this level of safety for Black people globally, like, and just, yeah, like that would be it, the respect and just like for us to be able to live and not have to deal with all this at all. Yeah, that would be in my world for sure. I think those would be the top things.
I love that. I love that. Speaking of safety, I know it's been a lot of unrest, especially when it comes to social justice. How have you been able to navigate? Because it is really scary out there. How have you been able to maintain your peace with all of the trauma that we're experiencing through media?
Yeah, it's, you know, it's really interesting, and I don't know how other founders deal with things, or other Black people, other Black women especially. But like I recently, one of my friends, Akudo, we do this thing at Hanahana now. It's like Wellness Mondays, where we have like a yoga instructor come. And the last class that we had, she taught about joy as a discipline and just being able to find moments of joy. And I take that very like strictly for myself. Is like, how can I just continue to find moments of joy daily? And what does that look like? And trying to do that every day. And also like not holding this expectation for me to have to respond, but also allowing myself to respond in what comes up, you know, because I don't think any of us like know what to do in these places. Like, because I think with every death, with anything, with every news, with every shoot, it just becomes a realization of how white supremacy works within our world every day and touches things on a daily. And so like with everything that continues to happen, it continues to tell us that like your Blackness is a reason for death, according to certain people, or harm or unsafety. So to have that as a realization thrown to you every single time, it's like, how do you continue to like live with that reality? Or like, and I think one of those ways is like bringing joy, because it's like, this is a reality. So how can I continue to protect myself and stay safe and stay sane and stay well, and not just survive, but actually thrive? And I feel like creating moments of joy from meditation, from the people, from everything, like from talking through it, from even just crying and being angry and expressing, like being able to, you know, be myself, like at all moments. I think that's the thing, is like, at the end of the day, like I should just be doing what I want to be doing and striving for what I want, because anything is possible. But yeah.
I love that. That is so powerful. And I think it's so important that people understand it's okay to feel all those emotions and all those feelings and settle in, I deserve joy. Like, joy is my birthright. Like, this is not just because I'm born in a different shade of skin, like, doesn't mean that my opportunity to experience joy and love and abundance is any less than anyone else's. But growing up in a culture where that is the reality, it is hard to break that feeling and that voice inside of your head away. And especially when you're experiencing microaggressions in alignment with that, it can be very tough. But I love that you said, I deserve joy and I deserve abundance and I deserve to have my own company and people around me to love me and support me and love me up. So I just love that you know that that is your birthright and that is what you deserve. Because I think anyone listening, sometimes we can feel like, you know what, maybe I'm not enough. Maybe I'm not enough because the magazines and the media tells me someone else that doesn't look like me is the ideal. But at the end of the day, we all are enough as we are. And it's our uniqueness that makes the world so beautiful. So thank you so much for just your joy, your energy. And girl, this shea butter, amber vanilla, y'all. If y'all are not on YouTube, you got to go look at this. I have been like, it just smells hypnotic. Oh, it just makes me feel so good. Like, how I need you to tell me the story behind this scent, because it is the most hypnotic, luscious, loving, nurturing, deep, rich scent I've ever smelled.
Okay, so that's so funny. So the scent originally I launched it during Mother's Day. I think it was in 2018. But originally it was actually supposed to be a sandalwood. When I was making it, I realized that I was allergic to sandalwood. And so I started breaking out. So amber was like the next scent that I was like, well, what's the closest thing to sandalwood? Because I was upset and I was hurt. Like, I was using the shea, like I was breaking out and I was still using it. I was like, there's no way I'm breaking out to shea. There's no way. And then I realized I was allergic to sandalwood. So then amber came, and so we launched it for Mother's Day in 2018. And it was just supposed to be a Mother's Day scent. And then everyone's like, but you need to bring it back. And I was like, oh, you guys actually like it. And then it became a staple. So yeah, that's how. And I mean, honestly, I love amber vanilla. It makes me feel very like, just like good. It feels good.
Yeah.
It feels sexy.
It's so sexy. It's so sexy and luxurious at the same time. And the vanilla, the warmth of the vanilla and the amber, it also makes me feel like royalty. It's a very royal thing, right?
Yes.
Thank you so much for taking this time with us. I know people are going to want to get some Hanahana Beauty. They're going to want to smell like royalty. So can you tell people where they can find you so they can get loved up a little more?
Of course. So for products and things, you can definitely find us at www.hanahanabeauty.com. On the website, on the Instagram, it's hanahana_beauty. And if you want to follow me, I'm at Abena Boamah. So Beanie Boamah, Boamh. And yeah, the same on Twitter. So, but definitely check out the website, learn more about the process, Hanahana Circle of Care, the women we sourced from, and what we're doing at HQ.
I love that. And I did want to get into just where you source your products because you're really passionate about giving back and nurturing Ghana. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Of course. So we at Hanahana, our commitment is how do we create sustainability from producers all the way to our consumers. And with that is with our Hanahana Circle of Care, which is our social impact initiative and creating benefits for any producer that we work with. And so one of the things we started is that one, we pay 2 times the asking price of shea. So anytime we're purchasing shea, whatever the price is, we double it. And then we also are focused on access when it comes to healthcare. So we do biannual healthcare days, health education monthly for the producers we work with. And we're continuously building on how we can create sustainable ways and access for the producers we work with, but also our community in general. So, now that I'm kind of back in the States again, more stable than before, we're looking at ways that, like, how do we continue to create access to wellness and healthcare within our community? So we're excited to be bringing back the Chill series and different ways of connecting with everyone and just sharing our platform and just connecting people. So that's kind of how we move with Hanahana.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much, Abena. You are, again, just melting my heart with your love and everything that you are. Thank you so much for spending time with us here at Get Loved Up. I know I cannot wait to see you in person. I know collabs in our future because I am obsessed with you and your product. So thank you so much.
Yes, I can't wait to be in LA soon. So
yes. And you all, thank you so much for joining us at Get Loved Up Podcast. If you haven't already, please leave a review. Find us on social and let us know your biggest takeaways from the podcast. Was it hearing about her spiritual connection? Was it hearing about how she takes care of herself, her daily ritual? Or were you inspired by her entrepreneurship? Let us know your biggest takeaways. Leave a review. And once you've left the review, take a screenshot and email me, koya@koyawebb.com. And I got a little gift for you. Again, thank you so much for being a loyal listener. Until next time, love yourself, love others, and love the world. One day at a time, one breath at a time. Peace and love.
I just want to take a moment to say thank you for being part of the Get Loved Up community. I like to share topics and people making a positive impact in the world, and your feedback means the world to me. If you haven't already left a review, please leave a 5-star review and let me know what you want to hear more of on the show. I'm here for you, and together we're making the world a better place, one day at a time, one show at a time. Thank you for listening.